Hey everyone, and welcome back to Practically Zero Waste, a podcast for making zero waste living as practical as possible. When it comes to construction, I'm sure you're with me in thinking tons of waste, lots of unnatural materials, heaps of carbon emissions. Like, how could that be beneficial to the planet? Well, today's episode, I chat with Chris Magwood from the Endeavour Centre all about sustainability in construction, making use of agricultural waste products, using plant-based materials to sequester carbon, and, get this, use construction to actually reverse climate change. Yeah, it's a thing. If you have any topics you'd like to suggest for the podcast, if you have any questions or would like to be in touch, send an email to practicallyzerowaste@gmail.com or message me on Instagram or Facebook at practicallyrowastepod. And if you'd like to support this podcast, you can go to anchor.fm/practicallyzerowaste. Okay, zero waste construction. Let's go. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and where your interest in sustainable construction came from?
Sure. Yeah, it started, I guess, about 25 years ago now, when
Wow.
my partner at the time and I decided that we wanted to try to build ourselves a home. And we had a bunch of goals for that home, one being that we wanted to build it ourselves. We wanted to live mortgage and sort of overhead free if we could.
Yeah.
And we wanted to try to do something, better for the environment than what we were seeing in sort of general home building at the time. And we didn't really know much about what that meant, but we did a lot of research and spent a couple of years trying to figure out how we were going to do this. And in the end, we ended up building the first permitted straw bale house in Ontario.
What?
And yeah. And so the idea was not that I was going to be a builder by any means, but what happened was people just started coming to that house sort of mostly uninvited and interested in what we were doing and wanting to check it out. And that sort of led to invitations to teach workshops, and that led to people saying at the workshops like, hey, I love this idea, I don't want to do it myself, would you come and help me or come and do this for me? And within a couple of years, I had two partners, and we had a full-time straw bale building contracting company.
Wow.
And things have kind of just kept going from there.
Were you kind of a handyman before, or did you also have to learn
No,
all
not
the
at all.
skills of building as well as how to use hay?
I didn't have any building experience going into that house project, but I had.
You had the passion, so that's all you need.
I had the passion, and I grew up in a family of race car drivers, so tools and doing things with my hands and rebuilding engines, those kinds of things were all within my sort of norm. So
Okay.
It didn't seem that far-fetched that I could attach pieces of wood if I could attach pieces of metal. So I just kind of dove in.
I'm hoping to talk a little bit more about straw bale houses and all these different alternate materials that we could be using now. Tell me first, what is the Endeavour Centre and how did that get started?
Sure, yeah. So about 15 years ago, we had been taking on apprentices in the straw bale building company, which is
Cool.
Something that I was really enjoying, sort of working with those people and helping to train them and get them set to start, building companies of their own. And we were just starting to get so many inquiries about that apprenticeship program that it seemed clear to me that there was more demand for training than what we could offer in that company. We could only take on a couple people a year. So I actually proposed a training program to Fleming College up in Halliburton.
Yeah.
And they were interested, and so I developed a 5-month sustainable building program for them. And then about 8 years ago, the team that was teaching at Fleming, including myself, decided that we would like to sort of do this on our own, that if there were some restrictions in working within an institution,
Right.
trying to do something ever changing and always sort of new and innovative in that kind of structure. And so we started the Endeavour Centre in 2011 to basically keep delivering that full-time program, but to be able to expand into other types of training, shorter workshops. We now do a 1-month natural building intensive. We do some 1-week courses in straw bale and hempcrete construction and things like that. So we just wanted a chance to, grow the training from that one program into a whole suite of things. And so that's what we do now at Endeavour.
That's amazing. So Endeavour Centre is primarily a school holding courses and workshops and anything from as short as a weekend to a full semester's worth of a course load, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking that the Endeavour Centre was also a construction company. Is that something that you do through the school's projects?
Yeah, so we are a general contracting company because for especially the full-time course, but for a lot of the other ones, we do the teaching by actually building a real building for a real client. So
wow.
In essence, yeah, we're operating as the contractor for those buildings while we're training people on doing them.
That's so cool. So where does your sustainability focus come in? So is that just the end result that house or that building will run sustainably, or is it in the building process as well, that the materials and the work that's put into it is also sustainable?
Yeah, we try to take a pretty comprehensive view of
wow.
what that means. The word sustainable is kind of thrown around a lot. I think it's lost a bit of its meaning, but I think we're looking at where our materials come from and how they're harvested and what sort of impacts that has.
Wow.
We're looking at manufacturing processes for those materials and what's going on there in terms of emissions and pollution and even treatment of workers. And then our job sites are solar powered rather than generator powered, so we're trying to be responsible at that level. We do really thorough waste management on site.
Wow.
And then yes, the building will be sort of like healthy and low impact while it's operating. So, we try to look at everything that's involved in the building process and making sure that we're kind of using best practice at every point.